The bridge of the UES Thunderstrike hummed with quiet efficiency as Captain Sarah Chen reviewed the morning reports. 3 months into their deep space patrol along the outer rim of human territory, her crew had grown comfortable with the routine. Too comfortable, perhaps. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission on the emergency frequency," announced Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. His voice carried an edge that made Chen look up from her datapad. "Put it through, Lieutenant." The speakers crackled to life, filled with static and what sounded like distant explosions. Through the interference came a voice, high-pitched and clearly terrified. "This is the Kalani merchant vessel Morning Star. We are under attack by Vract raiders. Our engines are damaged and we cannot escape. Please, if anyone receives this transmission, we have children aboard. We need help." The bridge fell silent except for the continued sounds of battle coming through the speakers. Chen stood slowly, her jaw tightening as she processed what she'd heard. The Kalani were one of humanity's few allied species, peaceful traders who had helped establish several successful colonies in the frontier regions. "Torres, can you get a fix on their location?" "Working on it, Captain. The signal is weak and heavily distorted." His fingers danced across his console. "Got it. They're approximately 4 light hours away near the asteroid belt in the Sigma Draconis system." 4 hours at maximum warp," muttered Commander Brooks, Chen's first officer. "If they're still alive by then." Chen's expression hardened. The Vract were notorious throughout this sector of space. They were brutal raiders who took what they wanted and destroyed everything else. They had no honor, no mercy, and no fear of consequences. Most species in the region simply avoided areas where Vract had been spotted. But humans were different. "Helm, set course for Sigma Draconis maximum warp. All hands to battle stations." Chen's voice carried across the ship's intercom system. "This is the captain speaking. We have received a distress call from Allied civilians under attack by hostile forces. We are responding immediately. All departments prepare for combat operations." The ship's ambient lighting shifted to the red glow of combat status as crew members rushed to their positions. The Thunderstrike was a Valkyrie-class heavy cruiser, one of the newer ships in the human fleet. She was fast, well-armed, and crewed by some of the best officers in the service. "Captain," came a voice from the tactical station. "I'm reading the distress signal more clearly now. The Kalani ship reports at least 6 Vract attack vessels, heavy fighters, and what sounds like a light cruiser." Chen nodded grimly. The Vract typically operated in small packs, overwhelming their targets with superior numbers and firepower. Against a merchant vessel like the Morning Star, 6 ships was massive overkill. They weren't just raiding, they were making an example. "Time to intercept?" 3 hours, 52 minutes at current speed, Captain." "Commander Brooks, I want all weapon systems fully charged and ready. Have engineering push the engines past recommended limits if necessary. And get me everything we have on Vract combat tactics." As the ship streaked through space toward the battle, Chen couldn't shake the sound of terror in the Kalani captain's voice. She'd heard that kind of fear before, during her early career, when pirates had attacked the colony transport she was protecting. That day, she'd arrived too late. She'd spent the rest of her career making sure it never happened again. "Captain, we're receiving updated transmissions from the Morning Star," Torres called out. "They're still broadcasting, but it sounds bad. Hull breaches on multiple decks, life support failing in several sections. Any response to our hails?" "Negative. They may not be receiving us through all the interference." Chen gripped the armrest of her command chair. The Kalani didn't know help was coming. They were fighting a hopeless battle against overwhelming odds, probably expecting to die. The thought of those children aboard the merchant vessel made her stomach clench. "Tactical, what's our current armament status?" "All systems green, Captain. Plasma cannons at full charge. Missile tubes loaded with high-explosive warheads. Point defense systems are online and ready." "Good. When we drop out of warp, I want us ready for immediate engagement. The Vract won't be expecting human intervention this far from our territory." The hours crawled by as the Thunderstrike raced through space. Regular updates from the Morning Star painted an increasingly desperate picture. The Kalani were brave, but their merchant vessel was never designed for combat. They were dying by degrees, and everyone on Chen's bridge knew it. "Approaching the Sigma Draconis system now, Captain," announced the helmsman, dropping out of warp in 30 seconds. Chen stood and moved to the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. All hands, prepare for combat. Remember, we're here to save lives, not take prisoners. The stars stretched and snapped back to points of light as the thunderstrike dropped out of warp at the edge of the asteroid belt. Immediately, the tactical display lit up with contacts. "I have visual on the engagement," the tactical officer reported. "The Morning Star is heavily damaged but still intact. 6 fracked vessels as reported, currently in attack formation around the Kalani ship." On the main screen, Chen could see the battle raging in the distance. The graceful curves of the Kalani merchant vessel were marred by scorch marks and atmosphere venting from multiple breaches. The wracked ships circled like vultures, their angular hulls bristling with weapons as they poured fire into their helpless target. "They haven't detected us yet," Brooks observed. "We have the element of surprise." Chen smiled grimly. The Vract were about to learn why attacking human allies was a very bad idea. "Target the Vract light cruiser first," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Full spread of missiles followed by plasma cannon fire. "Let's announce our presence properly." The Thunderstrike's missile tubes opened like the jaws of some massive predator, launching a salvo of high-explosive warheads toward the largest Vract vessel. The cruiser was too busy coordinating the attack on the Morning Star to notice the incoming threat until it was far too late. The first missile struck the Vract ship's rear shields, causing them to flare bright blue before collapsing entirely. The remaining 5 missiles slammed into the hull in rapid succession, sending chunks of alien metal spinning into space. Secondary explosions rippled along the enemy cruiser's flanks as its ammunition stores detonated. "Direct hit on the Vract command vessel," reported the tactical officer with satisfaction. "Their shields are down and I'm reading massive hull damage. They're venting atmosphere. The other Vract ships are breaking off their attack on the Kalani vessel," added Torres. "They're turning to engage us." Chen watched as the 5 remaining Vract fighters abandoned their helpless prey and accelerated toward the Thunderstrike. Their ships were smaller than her cruiser but fast and agile, designed for hit-and-run tactics. Under normal circumstances, they might have posed a significant threat. These were not normal circumstances. "Bring us about to starboard. Keep us between the Vract and the Morning Star. I don't want them getting another shot at those civilians." The human ship turned gracefully through space, its point defense systems already tracking the incoming fighters. The Vract opened fire first, sending streams of energy bolts toward the Thunderstrike. Most of the shots went wide. The raiders were used to fighting helpless merchants, not warships that shot back. Return fire. Plasma cannons, full power. The Thunderstrike's main weapon spoke with authority, sending coherent beams of superheated plasma across the void. The lead Vract fighter simply disappeared in a brief, brilliant flash. The second managed to dodge the initial salvo but flew directly into the path of the ship's point defense network. Dozens of smaller energy bolts converged on the alien vessel, shredding its hull like paper. "2 down, 3 to go," Brooks called out. "The remaining fighters are trying to flank us." Chen nodded, watching the tactical display as the surviving Vract ships split up, attempting to attack from multiple directions. It was a classic raider tactic, designed to overwhelm a target's ability to engage multiple threats simultaneously. Against a merchant vessel or even a light patrol craft it might have worked. The Thunderstrike was neither. "Launch interceptor drones," Chen ordered. "Full defensive spread. Then target the fighter on our port side with the main guns." Small automated drones deployed from the cruiser's hull, their tiny engines flaring as they moved to intercept the flanking Vract ships. Each drone carried enough explosive to cripple a fighter, and they were nearly impossible to target effectively due to their size and speed. Meanwhile, the Thunderstrike's main plasma cannon swiveled to track their new target. The Vract pilot, realizing the danger, threw his ship into a series of evasive maneuvers. It might have worked against a less advanced targeting system. Human military computers were very advanced indeed. The plasma beams caught the fighter mid-turn, cutting through its hull like a hot knife through butter. The ship broke apart in a shower of debris, its pilot's final scream cut short by the vacuum of space. "Interceptor drones have engaged the remaining targets," reported Tactical. "1 fighter destroyed, 1 heavily damaged and retreating." Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction as she watched the last intact Vract fighter limping away from the battle, trailing atmosphere and sparks. The damaged Vracht cruiser was also attempting to withdraw, its engine sputtering erratically. "Should we pursue, Captain?" asked Brooks. Chen considered for a moment, then shook her head. "Let them go. They can spread the word about what happens when you attack human allies. Our priority is the Morning Star." She turned her attention to the crippled Kalani vessel. Even from a distance, the damage was extensive. Entire sections of the ship were dark, and she could see bodies floating in the space around the hull. Crew members who had been blown out during the hull breaches. "Torres, hail the Morning Star. Let them know help has arrived." "Aye, Captain. Opening a channel now." The response came almost immediately, filled with relief and disbelief. The voice was the same one they'd heard in the original distress call, though now it was thick with emotion. "This is Captain Zith of the Morning Star. We cannot believe you came. We thought we were going to die out here. This is Captain Chen of the UES Thunderstrike. We received your distress call and responded immediately. What's your current status?" "We have extensive hull damage and our life support is failing in several sections. 43 crew members aboard, including 12 children. We have injured who need immediate medical attention." Chen felt a surge of anger at the Vracht's casual cruelty. Attacking a ship with children aboard violated every rule of civilized warfare. Though she supposed expecting civilization from raiders was foolish. "Understood. Morning Star, we're moving to dock with your vessel. Prepare to receive our medical teams and damage control specialists." As the Thunderstrike approached the wounded merchant ship, Chen could see the full extent of the damage. The Kalani vessel looked like it had been through a meat grinder. Huge tears in the hull revealed darkened compartments within, and several of the ship's external systems had been completely destroyed. "Captain," called out the ship's doctor over the intercom. "Medical teams are standing by with emergency equipment. How many casualties should we expect?" Chen looked at the devastation visible on her screen and felt her jaw tighten. "Too many, Doctor. Too many." The Thunderstrike moved into position alongside the Morning Star, extending docking arms to create a sealed connection between the two vessels. Within minutes, human medical teams and engineers were flowing into the damaged ship, bringing hope to beings who had given up all expectation of survival. As she watched her crew work to save lives, Chen made herself a promise. The Vracht raiders who had escaped would regret their cruelty. Word of this attack would spread throughout human space, and when it did, the response would be swift and merciless. The galaxy was about to learn that threatening human allies came with a very steep price. Dr. Martinez emerged from the Morning Star's medical bay 3 hours later, her surgical scrubs stained with alien blood. Chen met her in the docking corridor, reading the exhaustion and anger in the doctor's expression. "Report, Doctor. 18 injured, 7 seriously. The Kalani physiology is similar enough to human that our medical equipment works on them, thank God. I've stabilized the worst cases, but 3 of them need surgery I can't perform here. We need to get them to a proper medical facility." "The children?" "All alive, mostly unharmed physically, but they're traumatized. The Vracht used sonic weapons during their boarding attempts. The children heard their parents screaming." Martinez's voice carried barely controlled fury. "Captain, what kind of monsters attack civilians like this?" Chen had been wondering the same thing. She'd read reports about Vracht raids, but seeing the aftermath firsthand was different. This wasn't just piracy. It was systematic terror designed to break the spirit of anyone who might resist them. "The kind that won't be doing it much longer," she replied grimly. Commander Brooks approached from the engineering section, carrying a datapad. "Captain, our teams have finished their assessment of the Morning Star. The ship is barely holding together. Main engines are completely destroyed. Life support is running on backup power, and the hull has 17 separate breaches. Can we tow her?" "Yes, but slowly. We're looking at a week to reach the nearest star base at safe towing speeds." Chen nodded. The Kalani crew couldn't stay aboard their damaged vessel much longer, but moving them to the Thunderstrike would strain her own ship's resources. Still, there was no choice. "Begin evacuation procedures. Priority to the wounded and children. We'll take the entire crew aboard if necessary." As her people worked to transfer the Kalani survivors, Chen received an encrypted message from Fleet Command. She read it twice, her expression growing darker with each word. "Problem, Captain?" Brooks asked, noticing her reaction. "The Morning Star isn't the only ship that's been attacked. Intelligence reports indicate at least 6 other raids in the past 2 weeks, all targeting human allies or neutral shipping in the frontier regions. She handed him the datapad. The Vrath are getting bolder. Brooks scanned the information quickly. These attack patterns, they're not random. Someone's coordinating these raids. That's what Command thinks too. They want us to investigate the source of these attacks while escorting the Morning Star to safety. With respect, Captain, that could take weeks. By then, how many more ships will be attacked? Chen stared out. The viewport at the debris field surrounding them, all that remained of the Vrath ships they'd destroyed. Among the twisted metal, she could make out pieces of other vessels, older wreckage that hadn't been cleaned up. How many other ships had died here before help arrived? Torres, any luck analyzing the Vrath communication frequencies? Some, Captain. I've been monitoring their emergency channel since the battle. Most of it's encrypted, but I did pick up something interesting. The surviving ships are reporting to someone called the Claw of Vrath. Based on the signal strength and direction, I'd estimate it's coming from somewhere in the next system over. Chen felt a cold smile cross her face. The Claw of Vrath. Sounds like we found our coordinator. Captain, interrupted Lieutenant Hayes from the security station. We've got a problem. I'm reading multiple contacts approaching from the outer system. Long-range sensors show at least 12 ships, possibly more. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. 12 ships meant the Vrath weren't just coming back for revenge, they were bringing everything they had. How long? Until they reach us? Approximately 4 hours at their current speed. Chen's mind raced through the tactical situation. The Thunderstrike could probably handle 12 raiders under normal circumstances, but protecting the damaged Morning Star while fighting off that many attackers would be nearly impossible. Brooks, get on the horn to Fleet Command, request immediate reinforcements and give them our exact position. Already tried, Captain. Some kind of interference is blocking our long-range communications. We're on our own. The captain stood slowly, her hands clasped behind her back as she stared at the tactical display. Red icons representing enemy ships crawled across the screen like angry insects, growing larger with each passing minute. Options? We could try to run, suggested the helmsman. If we abandon the Morning Star and her crew, we could probably outrun the raiders. The suggestion hung in the air like a poison cloud. Every person on the bridge knew it was the tactically sound decision. It was also completely unthinkable. Not happening, Chen said firmly. We don't abandon civilians to save our own skins. What else? We could try to hide in the asteroid belt, offered Brooks. The interference might mask our signatures long enough for the raiders to give up and leave. And if they don't give up? If they systematically search every asteroid until they find us? We'd be trapped. Dr. Martinez spoke up from the corner of the bridge where she'd been quietly listening. Captain, I've been talking to the Kalani captain. He says there's an old mining station about 2 hours away, built into one of the larger asteroids. It's been abandoned for years, but it might still have some defensive capabilities. Chen considered this. A mining station would have been built to withstand asteroid impacts and space debris. It might provide better protection than either ship could offer on its own. What kind of defensive capabilities? The Kalani captain isn't sure. He says his people used to mine there decades ago before the ore played out. But mining stations in this region were usually equipped with defensive systems to ward off pirates and claim jumpers. It wasn't much, but it was better than facing 12 raiders in open space with a crippled ship to protect. Hayes, plot a course for this mining station. Maximum safe speed for both ships. Aye, Captain, course laid in. All hands, this is the captain. We are facing a superior enemy force in approximately 3.5 hours. We are proceeding to a defensive position where we will make our stand. All departments are to prepare for extended combat operations. Engineering, I need every bit of power you can give me. Tactical, inventory our entire weapons loadout and prepare for sustained firing. Medical, be ready for casualties. As the Thunderstrike began towing the Morning Star toward the mysterious mining station, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that she was leading her crew into a trap. But sometimes, she reflected, walking into a trap was the only way to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The Vrath wanted a fight. They were about to get one they'd never forget. The abandoned mining station loomed out of the asteroid field like a metallic cancer, growing from the surface of a kilometer-wide rock. Its docking arms and processing facilities had been built to last, and despite decades of neglect, the structure appeared surprisingly intact. Scans show the station is still pressurized in several sections, reported Hayes as the thunderstrike approached. Minimal power readings, but some systems appear to be running on backup generators. Captain Chen studied the tactical display showing the station's layout. It was larger than she'd expected, with multiple docking bays and what looked like a command center built deep within the asteroid itself. Any sign of those defensive systems the Kalani mentioned? I'm reading some kind of weapons array on the station's outer ring. Looks like mining lasers that have been modified for combat use, but I can't tell if they're operational from here. Captain Zith, Chen called to the Kalani commander over the open comm channel. Can you tell us anything else about this station's defensive capabilities? The alien captain's translated voice carried uncertainty. My people built it 40 standard years ago. The weapons were installed after raiders destroyed 2 other mining operations in this system, but I was just a junior engineer then. I don't know the technical specifications. Chen made her decision quickly. Brooks, take a team over to the station. See if you can get those weapons online. Hayes, dock the Morning Star in the most protected bay you can find. Then position us to cover the main approach routes. Within an hour, both ships were secured at the mining station. Brooks and his engineering team had managed to restore partial power to the facility and were working frantically to bring the defensive systems online. Captain, this is remarkable. Brooks's voice crackled over the comm from the station's control room. Whoever built these defenses was paranoid in the best possible way. The entire outer ring is studded with modified mining lasers, and they're all tied into a central targeting computer. Plus, there are missile launchers disguised as ore processing equipment. Can you make them work? Give us 2 more hours and we'll have most of the systems operational. But Captain, I'm reading something else. This station has a self-destruct system built into the main reactor. If things go badly, we could take a lot of enemies with us. Chen filed that information away for later consideration. Focus on the weapons for now, Commander. How long until our unwanted guests arrive? 96 minutes and counting. The next hour and a half passed in a blur of preparation. The Thunderstrike's weapons were charged and ready, her crew at battle stations. The Morning Star survivors had been moved to the most protected sections of the mining station, with the wounded placed in what had once been the facility's medical bay. Dr. Martinez had volunteered to stay with the injured, despite Chen's suggestion that she return to the relative safety of the Thunderstrike. These people need medical attention, the doctor had said firmly. If we're all going to die anyway, I might as well be useful. Contact, Hayes announced from the sensor station. 12 ships dropping out of warp at the edge of the system. They're spreading out into attack formation. Chen studied the tactical display as the red icons representing enemy vessels moved purposefully through space. The Vracht were taking no chances this time. They'd brought overwhelming force and were positioning themselves to attack from multiple directions. They're hailing us, reported Torres with surprise. Put it through. The main screen filled with the image of a Vracht commander. His scaled features twisted into what might have been a smile. The alien's uniform was decorated with trophies that Chen realized with horror were pieces of other species. Rings, necklaces, and what looked like preserved body parts. Human vessel. The Vracht spoke in heavily accented standard. I am war leader Krex. You destroyed my ships and killed my warriors. For this you will suffer before you die. Chen stepped forward, her expression cold as ice. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Thunderstrike. You attacked civilians without provocation. Surrender now and you'll be treated according to the laws of war. Krex's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. Laws of war? There is only strength and weakness, human. You are weak. You travel far from your territory to save creatures that mean nothing to you. This makes you fools. What makes you think they mean nothing to us? Because you are not the same species. Only Vracht fight for Vracht. Others are prey or tools, nothing more. Chen felt a surge of pity for the alien commander. His entire worldview was built around the idea that cooperation between different species was impossible. He literally couldn't comprehend the bonds of alliance and friendship that held the galactic community together. You're wrong, she said simply, and you're about to learn just how wrong. Krex's image snarled. You have one chance, human. Surrender your ship and the Kalani survivors. Do this and I will kill you quickly. Counteroffer, Chen replied. You have 30 seconds to leave the system before we destroy you. The alien's roar of rage was cut off as Torres closed the channel. All ships are moving to attack positions. Hayes reported. They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Brooks, please tell me you have those station defenses online. Just finished the startup sequence, Captain. All weapons are showing green lights and the targeting computer is tracking the incoming hostiles. But I have to warn you, these mining lasers weren't designed for extended combat. They'll overheat quickly if we're not careful. Understood. Use them for the opening salvo, then switch to single-shot mode to manage the heat buildup. Chen watched as the Vrath ships closed the distance to the mining station. Their formation was textbook perfect for overwhelming a single defender. They would attack from 6 different directions simultaneously, making it impossible for her to protect all approaches. What they didn't know was that they weren't facing a single defender. All stations, prepare to engage. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every civilian ship that travels these trade routes. Today, we show the galaxy that attacking human allies comes with consequences. The first Vrath ships entered weapons range, their energy guns already charging for attack. In the distance, Chen could see more raiders moving to flank the station from above and below. Fire. As targets bear, she ordered. The mining station erupted with defensive fire as 24 modified mining lasers opened up simultaneously. The coherent beams of energy, originally designed to slice through solid rock, proved equally effective against Vrath hull armor. 3 raiders were destroyed in the first salvo, their ships simply vaporizing under the concentrated firepower. But the surviving ships pressed their attack, pouring return fire into the station's defensive positions. The modified weapons began overheating rapidly under the sustained firing, forcing Brooks to switch to a more conservative firing pattern. Thunderstrike. Engage at will, Chen commanded. Her cruiser's plasma cannons added their voice to the battle, reaching out to swat 2 more Vrath fighters from space. But 7 raiders were still coming, and they were closing fast. The real fight was just beginning. The mining station shuddered under a massive impact as a Vrath torpedo slammed into its outer hull. Emergency lights flickered throughout the facility as systems strained to maintain life support under the bombardment. Direct hit on Section C7, Brooks reported from the station's control room, his voice tight with concern. Hull breach sealed automatically, but we've lost 2 of the mining lasers in that sector. Chen gritted her teeth as she watched 3 more Vrath ships streak past the Thunderstrike's firing arc, their weapons blazing. Her ship's point defense systems were working overtime, swatting down incoming missiles and energy bolts, but some were getting through. Engineering. I need more power to the forward shields, she called out. Already giving you everything we've got. Captain, came the reply from Chief Petty Officer Walsh. But we're running hot. These sustained maneuvers are pushing the engines past their design limits. On the tactical display, Chen could see the remaining 7 Vrath ships had split into 2 groups. 4 were concentrating their fire on the mining station's defensive weapons, trying to knock out the modified mining lasers one by one. The other 3, led by war leader Krex's command ship, were focusing on the Thunderstrike. They're trying to separate us from the station, observed Lieutenant Hayes. If they can draw us away from the defensive guns, they'll have us outnumbered, Chen nodded. It was a sound tactical decision, and under different circumstances it might have worked. But the Vrath commander had made one critical error in his calculations. He assumed humans would prioritize their own survival over protecting others. Helm, keep us positioned between the raiders and the station. Don't let them force us out of defensive formation. Aye, Captain, but that means we can't maneuver freely. We're sitting ducks. Sometimes sitting ducks bite back, Chen replied grimly. Tactical, target Krex's command ship with everything we have. Full missile spread, followed by plasma cannon fire. The Thunderstrike's missile tubes opened again, launching a barrage of warheads toward the Vrath commander's ship. But Krex was no fool. His vessel dodged behind a large asteroid, using the rock as a shield while his escorts moved to flank the human cruiser. He's trying to use the asteroids against us, Hayes observed. We can't get a clear shot while he's hiding. Chen studied the tactical display, noting the positions of the asteroids around the mining station. The Vrath ships were weaving between the rocks like fighters in an obstacle course, making targeting difficult. But the asteroids worked both ways. They limited the raiders' ability to coordinate their attacks. Brooks, can you target individual asteroids with those mining lasers? Certainly, Captain. That's what they were designed for. Why? Because I have an idea. Target the asteroid Krex is hiding behind. Not the ship, the rock itself. Full power. Understanding dawned in Brooks' voice. Brilliant. Stand by for asteroid removal. The mining station's surviving defensive lasers swiveled to target the massive chunk of rock shielding the Vract command ship. These weapons had been designed to blast through the hardest minerals in space, and even solid nickel-iron asteroid material couldn't withstand their focused fire. The asteroid began to crack and crumble under the sustained bombardment, sending huge chunks of debris spinning into space. Krex's ship was forced to break cover, exposing itself to the Thunderstrike's weapons. Now, Chen shouted. All weapons fire. Plasma beams lanced out from the human cruiser, catching the Vract command ship as it tried to find new cover. The alien vessel's shields flared and collapsed under the concentrated fire, and secondary explosions rippled along its hull. But Krex's ship was larger and better armored than his escorts. Despite the damage, it continued to fight, returning fire with its heavy weapons. Energy bolts slammed into the Thunderstrike's shields, causing them to fluctuate dangerously. Shields down to 40%, reported the tactical officer. Another hit like that and they'll collapse. Chen was about to order evasive maneuvers when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. What's happening? Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the outer system, Hayes called out urgently. Multiple contacts dropping out of warp. It looks like, oh my God, it's the entire Vract fleet. I count 37 ships, including 3 heavy cruisers. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. 37 ships. Even with the mining station's defenses, they were hideously outnumbered. Time to intercept? Chen asked quietly. 20 minutes at their current speed. Chen closed her eyes for a moment, considering their options. They could try to run, but the Kalani survivors couldn't be moved quickly enough. They could surrender, but she knew the Vract would slaughter everyone anyway. Or they could make their stand here, buying time for what? There was no cavalry coming to save them. Captain. Dr. Martinez's voice came over the comm from the medical bay in the mining station. I've been listening to the tactical reports. If we're about to die, there's something you should know. What is it, Doctor? The Kalani children have been asking me about human customs. Specifically, about why humans risk their lives for people they've never met. I told them about honor and duty and doing what's right even when it's hard. Chen felt her throat tighten. Doctor, let me finish, Captain. They wanted me to tell you something. They said that if humans are willing to die for them, then they want to fight alongside us. These children, who've never held a weapon in their lives, are asking to help defend the station. The captain opened her eyes, looking around at her bridge crew. She saw the same mixture of fear and determination on every face. They all knew they were probably going to die, but none of them were backing down. Tell them thank you, but fighting is our job. Their job is to survive so they can tell the galaxy what happened here. Actually, Captain, Brooks interjected from the station, the Kalani might be more help than you think. I've been going through the station's technical manuals, and there are several systems that could be enhanced if we had more people to operate them. The mining lasers can be overcharged for short periods, but it requires manual coordination between multiple control stations. Chen felt a spark of hope. How much of an increase are we talking about? Maybe 50% more firepower for about 10 minutes before the systems burn out completely. It won't be enough to stop 37 ships, but it might give us a chance to take some of them with us. Do it, Chen ordered. And Brooks? When those reinforcements arrive, target the heavy cruisers first. If we're going down, we're taking their command ships with us. As the crew prepared for their final battle, Chen found herself thinking about the children aboard the station. They would probably die in the next hour, but they would die knowing that someone had cared enough to fight for them. In the end, she reflected, that might be the most human thing of all. The Vract fleet approached like a swarm of angry wasps. Their ships spread across a wide front to prevent any chance of escape. Chen watched the tactical display with grim fascination as 37 red icons crawled across the screen toward their position. They're not even trying to negotiate this time, observed Commander Brooks from the mining station's control room. They're coming straight at us with everything they have. Can you blame them? Chen replied. We've destroyed 8 of their ships and humiliated their war leader. From their perspective, this is now about honor and revenge. Captain, interrupted Torres from the communications station, I'm picking up chatter on the Vract command frequencies. They're discussing something called the Final Hunt Protocol. Based on the context, it sounds like they're planning to record our destruction and broadcast it throughout their territory. Chen felt cold anger settle in her stomach. The raiders weren't just planning to kill them, they wanted to make an example of the humans who had dared to interfere with Vracht operations. The recording would be used to intimidate other species and discourage future resistance. "Well then," she said quietly, "let's make sure we give them something worth recording." The surviving 7 ships from the original raiding force had pulled back to join the main fleet, probably to avoid getting caught in the crossfire when the heavy units opened up. War Leader Krex's damaged command ship was limping along with the others, its hull scarred but still functional. 15 minutes until they reach weapons range, reported Hayes. All mining station defenses are online and charged for maximum output. The Kalani volunteers are in position at the auxiliary control stations. Chen had been amazed when Captain Zith and his surviving crew members had volunteered to help operate the station's weapons. They were traders and merchants, not warriors, but they understood what was at stake. If the humans fell here, the Vracht would become even bolder in their attacks on civilian shipping. "Thunderstrike is ready for combat," called out the tactical officer. "All weapons charge, shields at maximum. Engineering reports they can give us emergency power for about 12 minutes before the reactor requires shutdown for cooling." "Very well. All stations, remember the plan. We hit them hard and fast in the first wave, concentrating fire on their heavy cruisers. Once those are down, we target their command ships. Make every shot count. We won't get a second chance." The massive Vracht fleet continued its relentless approach, their formation spreading wider as they prepared to surround the mining station completely. The 3 heavy cruisers formed the center of their advance, their hulls bristling with weapons and thick armor plating. 10 minutes to contact. Chen stood and walked to the center of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency, making final preparations for a battle they all knew was hopeless. But hopeless didn't mean pointless. Every Vracht ship they destroyed here would be one less raider terrorizing innocent civilians. 5 minutes to weapons range. "Captain," Dr. Martinez's voice came over the intercom. "The wounded Kalani are asking to be moved to the outer sections of the station. They want to help watch for boarding parties." "Absolutely not. Keep them in the medical bay where they're safe." "With respect, Captain, nowhere is going to be safe in about 4 minutes. They know they're going to die." "They want to die fighting." Chen closed her eyes for a moment. How had it come to this? Wounded civilians preparing to fight off boarders while human, and Kalani crewmen prepared to face overwhelming odds together. This wasn't how wars were supposed to be fought. "Very well, Doctor. But keep them armed and in groups. No heroics, a contact in 2 minutes. All Vracht ships are powering weapons." The main view screen showed the approaching fleet in all its terrible majesty. The heavy cruisers alone were each larger than the Thunderstrike, and behind them came wave after wave of smaller ships. It was the kind of force that could conquer entire star systems. "All stations report ready, Captain." Chen took a deep breath. "Very well. Open a channel to all positions." When Torres nodded, she began to speak. "This is Captain Chen. In approximately 1 minute, we're going to face the largest Vracht raiding force ever assembled. They outnumber us more than 6 to 1, and they have superior firepower. By any logical analysis, we cannot win this fight." She paused, looking around at the faces of her bridge crew. "But we're not here to win. We're here to send a message. Every civilian ship that travels these trade routes safely. Every colony that doesn't have to fear raiders in the night. Every child who grows up free instead of in slavery. That's why we fight. That's why we die if necessary." Her voice grew stronger. "Today the galaxy learns that humans keep their word. When we say we'll protect our allies, we mean it. When we promise that innocent lives matter, we deliver. The Vracht think strength comes from cruelty and fear. We're about to show them what real strength looks like. Contact. Vracht fleet entering weapons range. All units engage at will. For Earth, for the Alliance, for the innocent." The mining station erupted with defensive fire as every weapon opened up simultaneously. The modified mining lasers, overcharged beyond their design limits, sent coherent beams of energy reaching across space to strike the approaching heavy cruisers. At the same time, the Thunderstrike launched every missile in her arsenal while her plasma cannons added their firepower to the devastating salvo. The lead Vracht heavy cruiser simply vanished in a ball of expanding plasma as 3 mining lasers struck it simultaneously. The second took multiple hits that penetrated its heavy armor, sending the massive ship tumbling out of control with secondary explosions rippling along its hull. But the third heavy cruiser and the rest of the fleet kept coming. their return fire beginning to pound the mining station and the thunderstrike. The human ship's shields flared under the bombardment, while chunks of rock and metal began flying from the asteroid base. Mining Laser Array 7 is offline, Brooks reported. Direct hit on the control center. I'm redirecting power to the remaining batteries. Shields down to 20%, called out Hayes. Multiple hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Chen watched as more Vrath ships closed to point-blank range, their weapons tearing into both the station and her ship. But the humans and their Kilani allies were giving as good as they got. 2 more raider cruisers exploded under concentrated fire, and the mining lasers were systematically destroying the smaller ships. Captain, Torres suddenly shouted over the noise of battle. I'm reading multiple warp signatures incoming from the outer system. Large ships moving fast. Chen felt her heart sink. More Vrath reinforcements? They were already facing impossible odds. Identification? Scanning now. Captain, those aren't Vrath ships. I'm reading human energy signatures. It's the Third Fleet. The main view screen switched to show a sight that Chen had never expected to see. 12 human warships were dropping out of warp at the edge of the system, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint and their weapons already charging for combat. This is Admiral Harrison aboard the UES Retribution, came a familiar voice over the communication system. Sorry we're late to the party, Captain Chen. We came as soon as we got word about the coordinated Vrath attacks. Chen felt tears streaming down her face as she watched the human fleet form up for attack. The Third Fleet was composed of the newest and most powerful ships in human space, and they were moving with the practiced efficiency of a veteran unit. All Vrath vessels. This is Admiral Harrison of the Human Defense Force. The Admiral's voice boomed across all frequencies. You are guilty of attacking civilian vessels and unprovoked assault on human allies. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. The response from War Leader Krex was predictable. We do not surrender to inferior species. So be it, Harrison replied calmly. All ships opened fire. What followed was not a battle, it was an execution. The human Third Fleet fell upon the Vrath raiders with methodical precision, their advanced weapon systems and coordinated tactics dismantling the alien force ship by ship. Within 20 minutes, the entire Vrath fleet had been destroyed or captured. As the smoke cleared and rescue ships moved to assist the damaged mining station, Chen found herself sitting heavily in her command chair. They had done it. Against all odds, they had held the line long enough for help to arrive. Captain, came Dr. Martinez's voice over the intercom. The Kalani children are asking if they can meet you. They want to thank the human who taught them about courage. Chen smiled through her exhaustion. Tell them I'll be right there, Doctor. And tell them that they're the ones who taught me about courage. As news of the battle spread throughout known space, it became clear that something fundamental had shifted in the galaxy's balance of power. The Frak, who had terrorized the frontier regions for decades, found themselves facing coordinated human patrols wherever they tried to raid. Other species began requesting human protection for their shipping lanes. But perhaps most importantly, the children aboard the Morning Star grew up to become some of the strongest advocates for human-alien cooperation in galactic history. They had learned firsthand that sometimes the strongest among us are those willing to risk everything for those who cannot protect themselves. The distress call had been answered, and the galaxy was forever changed.